Hello everybody, and now here's part 2 of the Cooper's family. Here we go. A teenager with anorexia nervosa went to see Ron worrying that her life is over, but Ron tried to get to the bottom of it by trying to talk to the girl about any problems in her life, whether it's family, school, or social, or it could be the internet as well. She told him it was a man who is part of the ballet group at the local community centre who was putting a lot of health pressure on her, and she told Ron that there isn't much she could do. Ron tried to comfort her by saying if you don't want him to bug her, don't let him. She just said okay and said goodbye till next time, but she can't promise that it will stop the waving a magic wand and doing it all. David started medical school, which he was when he was 16, and seemed very keen to learn everything about curing people from sickness. He did medical school every Wednesday night and every 4 weeks on a Saturday morning. David thought it was fun to learn about different illnesses that there are in the world, as well as learning the cultures and their different beliefs about whether they will accept it or not. David is also learning psychology and the different types of mental illness so he can help everyone. It will take him a while to master everything, but David is looking at it as being a challenge, but he will pass with flying colours, he said. Sue was a bit slower in school was so she started when she was 17, 3 years after David. The 1 year after David. Sue was going for her nurse's certificate as well as wanting to be a midwife. Sue also wanted to have a brush-up course on medical matters so she could lend a hand in an emergency. David had met quite a few girlfriends at medical school, so it would lighten the load of his work. He went to nightclubs, getting drunk and partying all over the place. David drank nothing but a nice cold beer, but he does know the rules of the family business. If you get drunk, you don't work, but he still got drunk anyway. But he did follow the rules. 8 months later, he passed with flying colours, getting a B in basics and a B in psychology, which are both passing grades. So David was glad to join the family business. Meanwhile, Sue was having a harder time with her first year, and it was making her very depressed. But she stuck out there learning how to be gentle with the baby through the birth. She was using a doll through practice, which was programmed to cry when it is being mistreated. So it was frustrating Sue, but she had to stick it out. The end of Sue's first year proved more difficult than ever. Meanwhile, David's graduation was a great success as he stepped up to receive his diploma. It was a mighty Christmas present for him. Sue practiced delivering the baby till she was blue in the face, but it was making her even more depressed every day. On Christmas Eve, Ron and Sally took David and Sue and the rest of the family to the Carols by Candlelight at the Sydney Myer Music Bowl to celebrate David passing medical school and giving Sue a break from all the stress and have some fun. As the new year started, Sue was still stressed out, but she was determined she was going to get through this. January was her party month. Every night she would party with her friends, and then when February came, she would be ready to go back to medical school. Meanwhile, David was being shown how the clinic works by sitting in on Ron's patients. He found it a real learning experience for him, knowing that his dad had big plans for him. When it was time to start the new year at medical school, Sue was sure this was going to be positive for her. She will accomplish everything she will put her mind to. As the year was drawing to a close, Ron and Sally were very proud that Sue was making a real effort in her studies, and they all were anxiously waiting her results from the test to see if she would pass. Ron and Sally took David and Sue out to a Vietnamese restaurant to honour both of them for their efforts for the last couple of years. There, 3 days later, a letter arrived in the mail, and Sue was nervous to open it, thinking it was a failing grade. But Ron said, if you don't open it, you will never know the result. He also said that he will support her no matter what the result is. Sue finally drove up the courage to open it, and to her surprise, it was an A. An A, a fantastic A, which was the passing grade. Sue was excited when it came to graduation day, when she was receiving her diploma. It made her feel really good about herself. Sue asked her to get a few tickets for graduation so both family and friends could see her graduate. It was an honour that the school thinks that Sue is ready to face the ups and downs of being a midwife and nurse. In November of the same year, Ron and Sally got funding to start construction for the new Cooper's Family Hospital, in which Ron dug the first trench at the site. They also had a speech from the Premier of Victoria and Lord Mayor of Melbourne. When all the formalities were over, they had a barbecue to celebrate the start of construction for this new project. But at the end of the day, David went to the pub to have a few quiet ones and got into a few in-depth conversations and how long that he will remain in the family business before he moves out on his own, as well as hearing people telling him their stories of their lives, which he found were very boring. The bartender introduced himself and told him to sit down and smell the coffee rather than move on too quickly, because you are lucky you have a father who cares for you enough to stop you from living in poverty. Well, that was the end of part 2, sort of how the family got a bit closer to getting in this business, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. Bye.